Yes, you heard that right. We have some Christmas cards headed our way. Today I'm participating in a blog hop and I love this project. This collection of holiday stamps is unbelievable. I've been having so much fun playing with it and I know you will too. So to get started, we're going to create a really fun kind of like what I call a peekaboo card. And we're using the new Stamp of Approval Candy Cane Lane collection. I'm going to use several of these cute little candy canes right here to create a really fun card. So to get started, you're going to need a piece of red cardstock and a white cardstock. And I have just a piece of white and red that I put together on my paper trimmer, and I trimmed them together so that they would have the equal width, because sometimes, you know, one's a little shorter, one's a little wider, and this way I don't have to trim it up later on. So once I have that, I cut my red piece in half, and so this right here just measures the same as it would the front, and then I cut it at the 3 1/4 inch. Now my next step is to cut this piece, I had already folded it, at the 3 1/4 inch to this side. So my total white piece will measure 8 3/4 by 4 1/4. So here you have these pieces here, and now you're going to need several different die cuts, and I used the matching dies to a lot of my candy cane stamps. And I'm going to now stamp out the various patterns. We're going to use Stampin' Up! Real Red because I really love this red. Now one of the reasons that I'm stamping these after cutting them is I find it a little bit easier to get things properly lined up. Now I'm not perfect and I don't get it 100% of the time, but you know what? I get it a lot more than I do die cutting it afterwards. So for me, this works. I have completely fallen in love with this stamp set because the candy canes, there's 6 patterns and they're large ones, small ones, and they go both directions. And there are matching dies for all of them, which is just great. I find it to be very versatile. So next we're going to actually do a little bit of destaticking on our piece of real red cardstock. This is the 3 1/4 inch tall one. And then we're going to add the greeting in Versamark. Now I actually ended up for another project cutting this greeting apart so that I could get the script to the left of it, and I found it very, very easy to put back together. So just think you can always get a little bit more out of your stamps sometimes by cutting them out and seeing them from a different perspective. I love these little tiny dots. They're awesome. It's a great little tiny something to a card. Those types of stamps are invaluable. So next we're just going to heat set this in white and to give it that great raised look that I love on Christmas cards. Now you just need to plan the card out. Now I would rather do this ahead of time rather than doing it as you go, because once you start adding glue to the mix, it can get very messy very quickly. So I took different size candy canes and different patterns and I just kind of arranged them in the width of the card, and we're going to have probably about 2/3 of each showing, and we're just going to attach them to the very top of the cut piece of the white, and then we're going to add the other white to the bottom. So once I kind of have my pattern going, and I'm being very conscious of the patterns, I didn't want to be too repetitive too closely together, then you can go ahead and add a little bit of adhesive to the very bottom of the white. So now that we have a quick little strip of adhesive, and I just used some snail, then you can start assembling your candy canes to the very bottom lip. Now, like I said, you want to keep in mind most of it's going to be showing, but a little bit is not. I don't want to put too much of the candy cane on there, but yet I also need enough so that the card can function as a card without kind of bending. You don't want to have just a hair of it up there. So I started with my 2 outside candy canes, and that kind of gave me an idea of space that I had to really work within, because as I'm transferring them from my pattern, which as you see I have set at the bottom of the card, I'm kind of using that as a guide in addition to the spacing that I have with the 2 that are already on there. Now if I needed to pick this up, I could definitely pick this up, and I found the tape was a little easier than glue initially, but I did end up using glue to put the whole card together as well. I did make sure that my candy canes, some were upright, some were upside down, some were left, some were right, just really kind of mix the pattern and the patterns up a little bit. So now that I have that there, I just want to make sure that they're pressed down really well, and then we're going to end up adding the top red piece. And you can see here, that's what it's going to look like on the inside. And this is such a cute card. I really, really love the way this card turned out. So we're going to take the piece that we did a little bit of embossing on, we're going to add glue to the flip side of it, and then we're going to add it to the top. Before we do that, we're going to quickly snip off that one candy cane that was kind of hanging over the edge. Not going to worry about anything going too much farther down on the bottom, because that'll all get covered up. So you're going to add a little bit of glue to the top, or adhesive. It could be glue, it could be 2-way tape, whatever you feel comfortable using. And then I actually used some liquid glue so that I could properly get this positioned to the very top of the card as well as to the bottom left and right. So you can take your time to just kind of get that exactly where it needs to be. You want to make sure that it is far enough to the top where you're not really seeing too much white, because that can kind of take away from the card, because the entire front is red. And then once you have it adjusted, I encourage you to open it up and to use a bone folder just to kind of really press those two layers together and just make sure that all the glue grabs on as well. Look at that. I really love this look. I mean, it's cool. It's cool like that, but we do need to add a bottom to it still. So here's the bone folder that I was talking about, and you just really want to kind of press it, especially over the candy canes. You want to make sure that all that adhesive gets in the nooks and crannies and really grabs hold so that this card never comes apart. That really is crucial to the strength of the front of the card. So I'm really digging the way it's looking. So we're going to open it back up and place it down, and now we're going to put the bottom piece there. You want to make sure to open that up when you're doing this so that you don't have adhesive grabbing onto the white inside. This is just what it's going to look like. We're going to place that about there. So I added that same adhesive strip. And actually, you know what? I did leave this closed at this point because I wanted to make sure that I had it exactly where it should be on the left and right. I wanted to make sure that that was correct for the card, because you don't want it to be askew to one side or the other. And then once you have that, then I add glue here. Now, same thing like the other side. I have one candy cane that's just a hair, but the rest are all on there pretty good. And that card is not going to go anywhere. You need to make sure that all your candy canes at some point are attached to the red. So once I have that glue, I can add the white piece. Now, just so you know, these white pieces, they are long. Once this card is put together, they are longer than the card. We're going to trim it up. I find that easier to do than to use an exact piece. It just works that way because you never know the exact dimensions of how wide that candy cane space is. So it's just easier to trim it afterward. Same thing like the last time, we're going to use that bone folder just to make sure that those all really kind of grab on and that adhesive is really in there good. Now here you can see how it's longer. I'm just kind of pointing to that. So we're going to take it to a paper trimmer. We're just going to put the whole thing in there and we're going to line that up. I'm using a tonic trimmer and I love this guillotine trimmer. I use it all the time. And then we're just going to give it a good little whack there and just even up our card, and there you have it. Isn't it a great project? I love it. And anybody who gets this card is really gonna be impressed with the fact that they can see through it. So here are some close-ups for you. I hope you enjoyed this project. This is just one of several that I have designed with this collection, and I have several videos this week as well as lots of projects on my blog. And be sure to check out the blog hop. We have an amazing team of designers that have created some really spectacular Christmas cards. So you have lots of ideas for you to get started on your Christmas card making fun. Thanks so much for joining me. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just click that subscribe button and head over to my blog and subscribe to the Creative Tips newsletter list. I do have an exclusive 12 Days of Christmas series coming up, but you got to subscribe in order to be able to see that. You won't find it on YouTube and you won't find it on my blog. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.